sweet Lord. Just a quick reminder, we're at the Taproot, and you're welcome to come down every Thursday night at 5:30. We tape here at 3300 Spenard Road, right near the drop zone. Not to be confused with the Outhouse Company. Rally to Restore Sanity coming up. There's going to be several in Alaska, and we want to invite you to restore sanity as quick as we possibly can. And if you look at our website at shannonmoore.com, you'll be able to find all the details on that. So we have questions from our audience for our panel. Are you ready? Tom Brennan, boxers or briefs? Oh! I'm kidding. That's not a real question.
Well, I'm trying to remember.
I'm teasing. Do you think if Lisa Murkowski drops in the polls next week, she should drop out of the race to save Alaska from Joe Miller?
Yes.
I don't think there's any way that's going to happen.
If you had to pick between Joe Miller and Scott McAdams, who would you vote for?
That's one of those where I would vote for my dog.
Really?
Tell me more about your dog.
If she wins, I'm not going to let her go. She's got a job with me. So I just vote for her when I don't like any of the other choices.
If Joe ends up pulling this out, because really, you know, if it's just him and Scott, he only needed, you know, he'd have to get at least 50+%, right? In this case, he doesn't have to get that large margin. So at the end of the day, it's...
How about these four choices? The old Lisa Murkowski, the new Lisa Murkowski, Scott McAdams, or Joe Miller. Because I served with a Lisa Murkowski that could get my vote. In 2000 to 2002, I thought she was very courageous and very moderate and stood up to sort of both sides and did it based on reason, not politics. And she almost lost the primary to Nancy Dahlstrom, got appointed, and I just haven't seen that Lisa back. So it would be a very tough choice for me, the old Lisa Murkowski or Scott McAdams, who I like very much and am supporting. It's not much of a choice now. You know, the choice between Joe Miller and the Lisa Murkowski that's been voting in lockstep with this crew isn't much of a choice. It's sort of, do you want a lot smarter and more moderate, but voting the same way? And I just don't think that's
right. At the end of the day, the vote's the same.
Well, right. Whether it's a bad vote done by a fuzzy-faced wacko or a bad vote done by someone you used to like is still a bad vote.
And you know, the sad thing is, I hear that criticism from a lot of people. I, as somebody who doesn't vote and who just watches this stuff, I can't.
What are you guys?
Let me finish. I do that because it kills your skepticism. Yeah. I look at all these people pretty much the same. I can't tell you who Lisa Murkowski is anymore. I mean, she's hard to figure out where she is. And the really, really sad thing is the things you say about her give her leverage within the Republican Party back there that she hasn't used. And she could use that to help the state, and that's troubling. Scott McAdams is, I mean, he's funny as heck. He's fun to watch. He's a guy running loose and free, but he's pandering. I mean, he offers anybody everything. I mean, here, you want, I'll get you that, and it's not going to happen.
You don't vote? You really?
I don't vote. I don't think reporters should.
Oh, wow. Killing me.
Oh, God, I'm glad I'm not a reporter. I can vote twice. Wouldn't all of our problems be solved if people in Fairbanks, if people didn't live in Fairbanks? Let me just.
The brunch is great.
The brunch is great. I'll just say this. I think Wasilla has more to stick up for these days than Fairbanks still. But Fairbanks, you know, only is where it's at because that's where they wrecked the barge. I'm not kidding. Hi, Fairbanks.
Fairbanks is great. Fairbanks is old Alaska.
You know, it's its own deal. And honestly, I had a great time there. I had so much fun in Fairbanks, and that's why I'm not running for office ever, is because they're probably videos. But you know, not without a court order. The extremes are just there, and somebody always gets killed with a power tool every year. Sawzall, really. I'm like, this is horrible. Do you think it's okay for the Alaska Division of Elections to include a list of write-in candidates in its info to polling stations, especially since people can still do write-ins? So,
no, it wasn't right to do that because the time hasn't closed, and it was really wrong to put it up on the wall.
Right, and they were doing it today too. Like, here's the list. You can write it down in Chugach. So.
I think they made them take it down.
It happened again today in a different town, in Chugach.
I mean, I
at
think the
senior
better question
center.
is does the process need to be reformed?
Hell yes. The fact that we have a lieutenant governor in charge of elections is asinine. And it doesn't matter. Fran Ulmer was in charge of the ballot when she was on it. Sean Parnell, in charge of a recount. His own recount, when he was running against Don, he was in charge. It was absolutely insane.
Is it any worse that we have an attorney general who works for the governor?
No. But I don't know how you get them. Maybe we should draft somebody.
Well, you can elect them. I mean, a lot of states elect
I know, but then they
attorney
become
general.
political. I mean, it's 6 to 1 and a half dozen another. We got to figure out a different way, like a lottery.
Well,
Oh my gosh. Tom and Craig, give the press here in Alaska a grade for investigative reporting, and why?
Does it have to be current?
Well, yeah, we're in this semester.
Well, you know, we used to do very good investigative reporting, and there is still some of it going on.
Is it just by the FBI?
It's changing so much. Well, no, actually, the Alaska Dispatch is doing a damn good job.
There's a couple people and there's a couple of people at ADN that I think do a good job.
Right.
Yeah.
And the issue is that they've got, what, 7 reporters for the whole state? Hell,
Well,
you guys have more reporters than they do.
There are less reporters, and a lot of them are these days
Fewer. If there were less, it'd be.
You're
yeah.
right. And a lot of them are saddled by the Society of Polite Journalists.
Right.
I mean, that someone would think it unusual that Tony chased a candidate out into a hallway to ask him questions leaves me going, what the hell happened to journalism in Alaska? I mean, it used to be if there was a question to be asked, you went and got the question answered. Now it's like, oh, they shouldn't chase the candidates. They should just.
Why didn't you just send them an
Sit there and
email?
wait till they send you a press release and just print that. I mean, don't ask them those questions. Those questions can be difficult.
They're not that.
Some of them are, believe me. Some of them are.
I've gotten to know a number of the Daily News reporters in the last 5 to 10 years, and there have been some really good ones. You know, there are a lot of.
There are some very good ones, and there's some who aren't. And to be honest here, a lot of it is their management, which won't back them up, which won't tell them, no, you need to go back there and ask this guy this question.
I know. The problem is, if I try to come up with a list, everybody on the list is gone already.
Yeah.
Because they move that fast.
And you have to have, I mean, really, you're having more of the historical reporting where you're at now
and you
than
need somebody
than the
who
news.
says
I mean,
from time to time, you need to go ask that question. I know you. I mean, there's
Rich
questions
Mauer's
Tony.
the only guy over there
There's
that.
questions Tony doesn't want to ask. There's questions I don't want to ask. Sometimes all of us in the reporting business need somebody to say, look, you need to go ask that question, because a lot of times, asking the question isn't any fun. It's not as much fun as Tony found out on most occasions.
The reduction at the ADN really exposed how problematic the whole situation is. TV, and there are some good TV reporters, but they rotate their people through. So you're always in Juneau re-educating somebody who's up from Vegas and going to be in LA, next year.
I'd rather watch somebody with wrinkles that has half a clue than see these little hi, I'll be your news spokesmodel tonight.
Right, and trying to say, no.
Really? You're 22 with Botox. Shut up.
And I'm supposed to give them the whole history of oil and gas up to that point. Or
But
PERS
if
fight.
all the management structure expects them to do is read press releases, why don't you just want a pretty face?
Well, because they're just going to sell the ads and they don't care.
But the Alaska Dispatch is the new Daily News, and an awful lot of the people who, including Greg Medred, are people that moved over from the Daily News to the
It took
Dispatch.
all the people who hated me at the Daily News and I brought over to Alaska Dispatch.
everyone
Where they could hate me
They,
even more.
For
I will
Eric,
say, however, in my own offense, if the enemy of your enemy is your friend, I have more friends than anyone in Alaska.
for Eric, let's
Diagram that out.
This says, for Eric, let's say you're the mayor of a city, maybe around 275,000 people, and you're faced with cutting services, eliminating jobs, or increasing property taxes. What would you propose?
But I think the reason we have a cap is to limit it, but I think we ought to consider going closer to that cap. But I also think you don't just reduce numbers, you try and figure out how to do things smarter. And we put some of those ideas on before, we'll do it again, but consolidations working better together is a better solution than just getting rid of cops or firemen.
Well, yeah, in one way or the other. Why does Miller have a handcuff fetish?
Did you write that? Because you seem to
I did not write that. That's not my writing.
Yeah.
Why does he? I think the question is, does he? I don't know. I think he's got a power issue. And I think he's very self-important, and maybe he's just very insecure. Yeah. Call Dr. Phil. It's the wrong show for
It is amazing that not Ted Stevens at his height, like no politician in this state has thought they needed security up to this point. And none has.
Wait, Don Young had Lou.
Well, there you go. And that was good stuff. Yeah.
She was badass.
She would have cleaned your clock.
She was one of those ladies I was talking
He's not going to talk to you.
All right.
But you know what?
Hopfinger would have just gone away.
I remember going in to interview Ted Stevens, and Rebecca Paulsha was there and a couple other people. And it was, and he got mad and he tore mics off and he was like, I told you I'm not answering that question, right in her face. There was no security doing it. And of course, that's what they ran on the news that night. But it was, you know, at least he was like doing his own heavy lifting, and I think he was like 80 then. So,
but would Miller be any worse off than if he'd done that? I mean, I would have much preferred to see him tell Tony, you know, take that stupid little camera and stuff it where the sun doesn't shine.
Yeah.
right.
I mean,
It's at least real.
Yeah, it's at least real. It's manly. I mean, this is honestly an embarrassment to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. That this guy turns and runs from a reporter. I mean,
someone actually said, do you know what he did to get appointed?
he was on the track team. I don't know.
I don't even know. Who is more dangerous, Palin or Miller?
Oh, Palin by far.
Tom may be right, but go ahead and tell us why. Yeah.
Well, because of the platform she's on, and she is at a level in the society where she could really screw things up. The Miller would just be, if he got elected and didn't smarten up, would just be ineffective.
And do we want that?
Do you really want her to have the football? Good God.
I mean, even
we'd be lucky if she launched it.
furthers this idea in America.
By football, you mean the United States of America.
Yeah,
is that what you guys are saying? Okay.
football.
I'm a football fan. I just want to make sure the analogy.
No, I mean the nuclear codes.
Yeah, the fact that she doesn't know.
Afghanistan, Iran.
She doesn't know not to shoot down. You see her attack bloggers. You see her go after people on Twitter. And it's like, it's silly. If she's going to shoot down, you really don't want her having that.
Well, she shoots at anyone who mentions her. I mean, as her staff said when she was in Juneau, if she'd really answered the question, what do you read? The answer was anything with the word Sarah Palin in it. So she shoots at whatever criticizes Sarah Palin, and it's totally consistent, but it's indiscriminate. I mean, there could be some 6-year-old writing a blog, and she'd be.
Oh, I know. So we don't want her to have it. So we have time for one quick question. This is for Eric. So just for the record, tell us where in the Constitution it talks about the separation of church and state.
Yeah, the First Amendment, which also protects somebody else we had up here. Yeah,
It's kind of a biggie,
yeah.
is what I understand from this week. Thank you guys so much. We have so many more questions than we have time, but you've been a great panel. It's been really fun, and we'll be back next week.
In Spenard, back to Spenard.
Back to Spenard, which,
Great.
the Taproot, isn't it been fun, you guys? Yeah. All right. Our thanks to the Taproot for having us here, and you're welcome to join us. And we'll be back next week with more Up North. That is like the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Tom Brennan, and